This is Brad Linder with Liliputing, and I've got a box here from Lenovo, which I believe contains a Lenovo IdeaPad S12 with NVIDIA Ion graphics. This is an 11.6-inch laptop, about the same size as the U150, which I recently unboxed. But the difference is this has an Intel Atom processor and NVIDIA Ion graphics instead of a Intel CULV processor. This is a demo unit. You can see the seal's already been broken. And the box opens a little bit differently from the U150, but we've got a cardboard box in here with some components, including battery, which is a 52 watt-hour battery, power cable, and power brick, which are pretty much the same size as the ones for the U150. Let's set those aside for a moment. Review information and return information. User guide and S12 regulatory notice. And the laptop. Take a look at the lid. It's got a sort of textured pattern on the lid, but it's not actually a physical texture. When you rub across, it feels like a sort of smooth plastic. It's rather shiny, but doesn't really show fingerprints, which is nice. Or my fingers aren't very oily today. The bottom, you've got two access panels for accessing, I think, the wireless and the memory. I think to do any changes to the hard drive, you'd probably have to open up the computer a little bit further. Don't see a SIM card slot here, so I don't think this one's 3G enabled. On the sides of the laptop, you've got a wireless toggle switch, USB, two USBs, SD card slot. On the other side, we've got HDMI output, another USB, VGA, mic and headphone jacks. Now that HDMI output, and Ethernet, that HDMI output is something that you're not going to find on the base model of the Lenovo IdeaPad S12, because that just has an Intel Atom processor and integrated graphics. This version does have the higher performance graphics from NVIDIA. Now on the inside, we've got a nice full-size keyboard, a couple of dedicated keys at the top, including a power button, a little button with an arrow key, not entirely sure what that does, volume, up, down, mute, and the quick start button, which loads, I believe, the Splashtop Quick Boot Linux-based environment. There's a little piece of plastic here over that webcam. Two distinct buttons underneath the touchpad. Fairly wide touchpad with a nice texture to it. The scrolling area on the right side, which means I don't believe that this supports multi-touch gestures. You can't use two fingers to scroll. Instead, you have to use the side and the bottom to scroll up and down and left and right. And as you can see here, NVIDIA Ion, Windows 7, Dolby Sound. So there's a little bit more plastic hanging out here on this thing. Overall, it has a nice feel to it. I did review earlier this year the version of the IdeaPad S12 without NVIDIA Ion graphics, and it has a nice display, a 12.1-inch display with, figure out how this goes in here, 12.1-inch display with a 1280 by 800 pixel resolution, this version actually should have the power to pump out high-definition video to that display. Now, one thing that I've noticed with some NVIDIA Ion-based computers is that while the graphics processor definitely boosts performance when you're watching video or playing video games, it doesn't necessarily help that much with other tasks. So, you know, in some places the computer might feel kind of sluggish, but in others it'll feel blazing fast, and faster than some computers with more powerful processors, in fact. Now, just for comparison's sake, here's the IdeaPad U150, which is a little bit smaller. Doesn't take up quite as much space. It's about the same size edge to edge, but front to back you can see it's a little bit smaller. The battery on the U150 also comes straight down, whereas the battery on the S12 sticks out a little bit in the back. And one of the differences here is that the U150 has a 1366 by 768 pixel screen, 11.6 inches, as opposed to the 12.1 inch 1280 by 800 screen on the S12. See what they look like next to each other here. So overall, the S12 is a slightly larger laptop. This particular model happens to be all black, whereas this one is sort of a combination of silver and black. And for comparison's sake, let me grab another 12.1 inch laptop, which is the Asus UL28. Pretty similar size-wise here. The S12 sort of sticks up a little bit more on the top, and is a little bit higher, a little bit thicker. But overall, these two laptops are very similar in terms of size. This is Brad Linder with Liliputing, and this is a first look at the Lenovo IdeaPad S12 with NVIDIA Ion graphics. Of course, what really sets it apart from the version I reviewed in 2009 is the fact that this has the NVIDIA Ion graphics, so stay tuned to liliputing.com to see how it stacks up in terms of performance.